Good morning and welcome to HFA's first Constructive Conversations. For those who are unaware of HFA, we are a fully integrated architecture and engineering firm with 370 employees across 38 states. We have 4 studios in 2 countries. Excited to lead this webinar today, and I've pulled together a couple of our leaders here at HFA. Between the 4 of us, we have more than 8 decades of experience in design and in merchandising, and excited to moderate this retail discussion. Bo, please introduce yourself.
Awesome, thanks, Garrett. Happy to be here today. My name is Bo Ebbrecht. I'm a vice president here at HFA. I work on a team that does large format retail projects all over the country, up to about 200,000 square feet. We do new stores, renovations, takeovers, and expansion projects.
I'm Nicole Poole. I'm VP of Hospitality and Entertainment. We work on a variety of projects, restaurants from QSR to fine dining to any type of entertainment complex, with a lot of them with a sports and technology base.
Great. And I'm James Owens. I'm a vice president here at HFA. I lead a talented group of individuals, and we focus on small format retail, convenience, auto services, and grocery, and we lead our clients to fulfill their vision by building lasting partnerships. And I will say to my colleagues, I'm very excited to be here. I did moderate my caffeine intake, but this is just my natural excitement when we talk about retail, so setting expectations.
With that excitement, James, let's go ahead and start with you to get this going. When we talk about design and retail and integrating that, understanding what our customer is and our clients, how do we help design, whether that's the malls that we're doing for infill or kind of the new lifestyle?
Sure, yeah. So one of the reasons I think we're all just specialty experts here is because we're all consumers, right? I personally love to shop. I love going to lifestyle centers, malls, just the customer experience, because I am a consumer and a customer, so I feel like I can relate and then weave the design aspect of it to the architectural engineering. It's a win-win for me. So retail is just, it's been along for so long, right? It's just the transaction of goods and services. You go back to the Greeks and the Agora and the Roman forums. Retail has not really changed. The basics has been the same, right? But it's really how it's evolved over the thousands of years, and how it's adapted and how it continues to serve consumers and then create these customer experiences. So lots to unpack here. So I don't know where we want to kind of start.
Yeah. So if you look at the last 10 years, 5 years, we've seen very diverse and evolving customer interactions in retail and what that looks like. We've seen some ditch to ditch, but we're taking this and trying to integrate that design into what makes sense for the locality or community that we're going in. And you're out of the Northeast, so I'd love to hear a little bit about what you've touched and how you bring this in when you look at whether that's safety and flow, which is engineering where I get involved to work with you guys, but architecture as well, to have that customer through the journey of the spaces we're designing.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about just the regional and the community aspect of it. I mean, certainly we're going to design those spaces for those certain regions, right? So in the Northeast, we've got to be aware of the cold climates, and in the South, we've got to be aware of the warm climates. So again, it's just that fun aspect of designing a space based on either the climatic conditions, the region. So that's just so unique. But again, that hasn't really changed. We're not going to design a lifestyle center in the Northeast to just it completely ignore just the cold weather, the icing, things like that. So again, it's just that you've got to be aware of the surroundings, the context, whether it's just the region, availability of resources, the neighborhood aspect of it. And I think that's really where design plays a critical component in the design of these facilities.
Yeah, but taking what James said too, you have to be aware of the users and demographics of your space too. So most stores now are recognizing that different shoppers have different needs, and some stores are reducing the volume of their music or the lighting levels in the morning to cater to those who want a more quiet shopping experience. So it's not only the region, you have to be aware of the consumer and the demographics in your population where your stores are located.
And I think, I was going to say, one of the things that James says, retail hasn't changed, right? People love to shop. But one thing that has changed is probably the technology aspect of what retail is, right? Like retail, we can shop online now. So the thought is like, okay, how do we use technology to our benefit to get people back into the store? Because, right, like online, you can't try out hitting a baseball bat, for example, or trying a piece of clothing on. So I think that's one of the key aspects that we have to take into consideration when we're designing is like, how does technology play a role in that?
I mean, the technology has really exploded, and retail has embraced it, right? You talk about there's so many ways to e-commerce, brick and mortar. I mean, that's omni-channel, right? So there's so many ways that you can capture a consumer, whether it's a mobile app, a desktop app, physical locations. It's kind of overwhelming, but it really caters, again, going back to that demographic, right? I think right now, statistically, I read it, this is the, in history, the biggest moment where you've got so many different generational ages, right? So you've got the consumer who may be on the baby boomer, right? That older, maybe they're not as technology savvy, but then you've got that extreme opposite end with the Gen Zs, and they're so technology based. So retail, it's gotten really tricky over the years because it's a bit overwhelming, right? We all face it every day. You're getting blasted with physical, mail, electronic mail. So as designers, we have to kind of help mitigate those options. You talk about the technology, right? So retailers, how they're getting consumers into the store. Technology has impacted that. Right now, there's third-party delivery services, that e-commerce. It's just part of the overall shopping experience. You're going to see it. But I know you've dealt a lot with that online grocery pickup side of things. But as a consumer, when I go to a store, I just want to go and get my things, right? And that's probably the opposite of what retailers want, because you want to draw me in. But as a third-party delivery service, I know they want quick, easy access, right? They want to pull up, they want to run in, grab the product, and they're out. So now there's just all these ways to navigate inside the store. I don't know what you're seeing on the large format.
Well, it's true for you bringing people to the store, like Nicole said. There's an experience to be had now, because now a lot of consumers will go online and they'll buy something, but you can't hold the baseball bat. You can't swing the golf clubs. So now retailers are building experiences in the store. So you're drawn into the front of the store, and there may be a display of the golf clubs or the baseball bats. And that's just part of the first step to get a consumer in. Once the consumer is in there, there needs to be a visual cue to go further in the store. Like, I came for this product, but I see something interesting over here. So if you can place visual cues, you can map a customer's path through the store. But you're giving them the experience too, because you can go to the store, hold the product, maybe have a pro at the store demonstrate the product, help you with the product, maybe steam the baseball glove so it fits before you leave. And that's a service that you can't get online. So more stores are capturing that physical experience part now.
We were talking about this right before, Bo, but having that technology, James, as you were saying, having that phone in hand, what we've ordered online, and I got to take it back or I got to go back. So how then do we draw that customer into the journey that they have in that store to say, hey, return this, or go touch it, love it, feel it, know what you're looking at and buying, so that you can still buy online, but that physical presence. And I think you said this yesterday, James. 70% of everybody is still going into
brick and mortar is
so
not going away. Right?
Yeah.
Just with overall retail, that's a huge number, right? And so you talk about that returns. We've all seen it. Like in the past 5 years, you would buy something online. It's like, it doesn't fit. What do I do? It was really a hassle, right? To package it up, to return it. Now retailers they're partnering with these return agencies, right? Kohl's has done it with their partnership with Amazon, where if you buy something on Amazon, you just bring it back to a Kohl's and they take care of it. And that's amazing. Staples is doing it now with their partnerships, where, again, for me, I don't have that hesitation of, if I don't like it, what am I going to do? If I don't like it, then I'm just going to drive it down the street or my closest drop-off point, and it's done. So that, I think, has really changed. Even in the past 5 years, we've seen it.
Well, with my background the last 10 years, really being immersed in merchandising and customer, and then partnering that with my civil engineering that I'm focused on now, this becomes a site planning thing from the outside. So you mentioned grocery pickup earlier. So you need kind of quick in and out. This is no longer putting the milk in the back of the store, Bo. It's let's have safety, let's move them in and out, but then let's have that journey and that real customer experiences you put throughout. So there's a lot of interaction that the four of us have when we're looking at these different spaces, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned the site aspect of it, with your engineering background and the landscape design. I mean, it starts outside the building, right? So you talk about online grocery, so now you have online pickup, you have the box trucks, normal delivery, large truck deliveries, you've got the traditional consumer. It's a traffic nightmare, and how you mitigate all that, really, you've got to think about it. You got to think about the flow, the operations, the consumer, just to get them to the site, right? And
community, the clients that we have,
Sure.
Peak hours, who's doing what. I think it's a perfect time to bring you in, Nicole, is when we start looking at restaurants or other type of entertainment, I mean, how do you intertwine that in such a way that makes sense from a flow perspective and keep people there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all starts with demographics too. You know, we've already touched on that a little bit. Like, one of the first things that we do when we're kind of creating and crafting these spaces is figuring out, okay, who's using the space? Like, when are they using it? Why are they using it? And how, right? Because that really helps with the flow of the overall layouts. Like, okay, we know that we've got a younger generation here, so maybe we need an entertainment component to kind of keep them activated within the space, to be willing to shop longer. So it's things like that that you kind of play out, all based on demographics. And we actually want from our clients, like, the demographics, like, they provide a lot of that information when they're actually looking at these sites. So we have a ton of that, and it helps us in the overall process.
So getting us involved early in the real estate, you know,
Right.
understanding who that patron is, knowing what that locality is and what you want to do. And you kind of touched on it before. So we're seeing that change, the baseball bat, you know, House of Sports doing a bunch of different things to bring that customer in,
Right.
make that more of a destination and keep them there.
Right, and they want to reflect the community they're in too. So House of Sports is a great example where they're putting athletic fields next to the store. And that's prime real estate, right? Because you know how sites are limited and then they could be parking or another tenant. But they're having a community-focused athletic field where they can do soccer practice or baseball practice. So they're using the demographics from the site, and they're bringing in features for the store that draw people in and keep them in.
I think to add on that, like, our developer clients, you know, we've seen this rise in the lifestyle center, right? And that's really this mixed use facility where it's got retail, it's got housing, entertainment, and communities want that. They want that diversification. They don't want to just see this, you know, acreage of only retail, right? Because I think with the diversification of the tenant mix and the use, it really creates these, you know, peaks and valleys of, you know, during the day, right? So the morning environment is going to look completely different from a consumer standpoint than in the evening, right? So you can kind of capture those different demographics by utilizing, you know, the space appropriately, just minimizing the impact on, you know, how large your footprint is and things like that. So, you know, from a developer standpoint, I think they're embracing it, communities are embracing it. It creates this diverse new urbanism that I think people want.
And
right?
that's a big challenge, right? I mean, like, designing for multiple generations and designing for different times of day, right? We talked a little bit about, like, in the morning, the hours might be quieter. It's quieter hours for shopping. So, and then the music turns up at night so that you're gathering more of that younger crowd. It's more of a social gathering space as they're shopping. So I think it's interesting. We have to really think about how does the site and the building change from morning to night, and, like, yeah.
How does the design respond to the shopper?
Right.
It can't just be a static space anymore.
Right, and that's how retail's evolved, right? I said in the beginning, like, oh, retail's been the same. I mean, the core essence has been the same, but the experience has adapted and evolved, and it's embracing all these different technologies and things. So it's really the consumer experience that has evolved and adapted, and it's going to continue to adapt, right? We were talking yesterday about trends, and so all these things that we're trying to integrate into these lifestyle centers, these retail entertainment centers. Yeah, a bit of them are trendy. Some things work, some things don't. I can think back, I know Vans, you know, a couple years ago, they had this really cool retail entertainment complex where they repurposed the tubes in London, right? And they created these cool skateboard parks. And in the background, they were selling Vans products, right? So it created this cool user experience. It did end up closing, right? So it was kind of a little bit of a trial. And that's okay, because I think you've got to explore and push the boundaries a little bit to see what works. And really adapt, right? You've got to continue to reinvent yourself in the experience, because once it becomes stagnant, people aren't going to want to come anymore. So then what do we do? How do we keep it engaged and lively? And
It's tough staying on the front end of that. So you want to be ahead of the trend, I think you said, Nicole. You don't want to be behind on the trend, because then you're just another place. Bo, you've dealt a lot with investing in what those trends look like, trying to be on the forefront, and quickly close those down. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you engage in that and how you keep what works and kind of flush everything else quickly?
So it's tricky, right? Because like James said, you want to change and evolve, but your brand is your building. So when we design the facade of a store, we know that's part of the logo. So some stores have signs, but most stores have this giant storefront that they want to be recognizable by their patrons. And so you want to be known that this is your store from the interstate or from the highway. And so you want to change and be fresh, but you have to be careful not to alienate your customers too. So it's a balance. You want to be new maybe every 5 to 7 years. You want new paints, and you can do small things like restrooms are a big component. A lot of customers will complain about restrooms. So that's an easy fix. New tile, new fixtures, just refresh the restrooms. That can get you some mileage. Maybe repaint the interior of the space a different color. Maybe bring in new products and new signage. And then try to refresh yourself in steps and see what works and what doesn't work. And always focus on the facade of the store where we can come in and help and design their brand and know that the customer experience starts from the outside. Like when you enter the site, the parking has to be understandable and safe, and then you see the building, and you need to understand which side to go in if there's multiple entrances, and help the customer have a positive experience so they keep returning.
Bo, it's not tricky, it's sticky. See what I did there?
That's good.
I'll add, you talk about the wayfinding, right? How does the consumer navigate the store? And I think that's where design can really provide a little bit of enhancement, right? It's beyond just putting a graphic or signage on the wall, right? Like apparel. I mean, that is the obvious. But I think design allows us to be creative and just create those experiences, and whether it's a lighting fixture and we're kind of architecturally and engineering that, or just an element to kind of draw you in. There's a lot of design elements that we can help reinforce the customer experience and journey to just beyond the standard, like, well, we're going to put a sign on the wall or something like that.
This is a great time, Nicole, with your hospitality and what you've done on some of those designs. What lessons learned can we apply to other parts of retail with what you've been engaged in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think a lot of people are looking for that hospitality feel. It's going across all sectors, really, and that's because people want to feel like they're having a unique experience somewhere, right? They want to feel comfortable where they're going. Like, I'm not going to go to shop at a place that I don't feel good about getting out of the parking lot, right? And just going to the building. So it's from the moment that they drive into the site and through all the way through checkout process, right? That we have to kind of appeal to. And I think hospitality ties into it. It's a lot about, we talked about a little bit about those checkout stations, right? Self-checkout, and what that means is like pulling those people who were checking them out to have one-on-one interactions with the customer to make it more special for them, whatever they're looking at, whether it's a baseball bat like we talked about or a golf club, but it gives them that one-on-one time to like, I can't leave this store without this product because I had such a good experience with it.
And I think that the self-checkout is a great example of leveraging that technology, right? It's simple, it really reduces that kind of labor need at the point of sale, but then it allows you to kind of free up those resources, those very limited resources, as we all know from the labor force, to really focus on that customer interaction, that customer experience. And I think a lot of, on the small format retail side, we talk about this boutique retail, right? And so you're competing against these large format stores that offer competitive pricing, e-commerce, quick delivery. And so how are they competing in this market? And I think that's where that very unique customer experience comes in. And so, I can think of a lot of retailers like Tom Snyder, right? You go to a high-end men's apparel location and they'll have tailors on site, right? So they'll have stylists. That's very unique. That's something I can't get online. To physically touch the product, to have somebody assist me with the product. I mean, that is something that is, I think retailers need to kind of capture. And we're seeing a lot more of that very unique boutique, customization. You talk about customizations. Retailers too. They're allowing you to customize the product. I think Nike, right? You go to their large corporate flagship stores, and you can customize your shoe. Again, that's just really cool. It's just providing that very personalized product that, maybe you could get online, but there's just a different experience I'm going to get where I can customize something in the store.
I think you hit on two key things about the interaction for the customers too, because as a retailer, if you can find something in the community that is already drawing people to that area, like it's a coffee place or a sandwich place, can you partner with them to have them next to your store or maybe in your store? So they come in for the coffee or they come in for the sandwich, but they're inside. So now that you have their attention, bring them through the wayfinding exercise and have them shop in the store. So it's a partnership with the community, and what do they need and how do you kind of tie those two together?
Yeah, admittedly, I will shop at some facilities that have high-end coffee, right? Because I can get my coffee, I can do some shopping. They got me. I'm sold.
That's it.
I'm going to go there.
So we've touched a lot on, designing, bringing them to the store, keeping them in the store with that customer journey throughout, and engaging with them one-on-one, as you mentioned, Nicole. But how do we keep them coming back? So when we look at design from that perspective, kind of brands plays an important role in this. But what else are we looking at just to keep bringing them back? And Nicole, I'll have you kind of kick off this segment.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a good experience, right? You're always going to go back somewhere that you've enjoyed what you've done. So I think that's key, is like, and it's also got to be easy too, right? Like if you overcomplicate things, like if I'm having to try to figure out what I need in 10 minutes, that's probably, I'm not going to go back, right? It's got to be easy for that end user and approachable. I always say, like, it needs to be approachable. So it goes back to catering to those demographics, making sure that we're making people feel comfortable while they're in the store, while they're shopping, because you'll always go back to somewhere where you feel comfortable.
To pick up on the brand side of things, I mean, that's a key component to any successful retailer, right? So you think about, statistically, it's, retailers have, probably a 20-year cusp before they maybe kind of fall and die on the grapevine, right? And so you look at those classic retailers that are timeless. We joke about Louis Vuitton, Lamborghini, these Nike, these names that have just been around. You know the brand, you recognize it when you hear it. And there's a reason for that, right? They focus on pushing the boundaries on the design, right? All of these they're forward thinking. They're creating those unique customer experiences. They're being trendy in some aspect. They're creating a name for themselves. They're creating a story. And so that's so important, right? Because, and you see a lot of that, these key brands, developers are seeking after them. They want them in their lifestyle centers because that's going to draw people. That's going to keep them from coming back time and time again. Because they're timeless, right? You're going to want to have that champion sweatshirts or whatever it is because it's going to be around.
Yeah, brand awareness and nice, easy shopping with a good experience. If those aren't there, then you're not going to have return customers.
I think another thing too that's interesting that we've seen is, like, to create that community, they're creating events at these retail stores, right? And you're always going to get new crowds to come into a space when it's a unique event. I think about, like, Home Run Dugout, which is one of our clients. Like, they are a baseball concept, but they create unique community events out on their wiffle ball field, like goat yoga and different things, but it draws everyone in. And then those consumers come back because they had a great time at that event. So
I can say from our lifestyle centers, and we've done a number of open air outlet centers, right? The outlets of Little Rock, outlets of Des Moines. We're creating spaces, for entertainment, for those events to happen. We're introducing these areas for children, areas to just kind of relax. So just creating those different environments within the complex. Again, it's a design challenge, but it's a fun challenge. And I think that's kind of why all of us are in this, A&E industry and design, because what we do has an impact on the consumer or a person's experience.
And just to talk about us, HFA specifically, is my civil team, landscape team, really partnering with the architects so we can bring features that we unfortunately have to do with civil engineering, but you bring that into the landscape architecture and that whole feel of it, and it just looks inviting when it actually serves a purpose and has to happen anyway.
Right.
So
I know how many times we had a discussion about retention ponds or detention ponds, right? It's like, what are we going to do? It's a necessity, right, for the site, but then working with our team creative was like, okay, how can we integrate this into the site? How can we integrate it into the customer's experience? I enjoy just having that interaction, the collaboration with our team, because we can each draw on our unique discipline and experience, but ultimately, create this really cool and inviting and successful retail environment. So.
Well, excellent. Well, we'll go ahead and transition to a question and answer. So a couple things I just want to highlight as we jump into this. I think there were a couple clear things here. Brand's really important as we look at where we're heading. Getting involved up front. So we're not just designers or architects or engineers, as we really need to understand the community, our clients, what we're trying to do for appeal, the patrons. Get involved up front so we can have all these questions so that we can help our clients fulfill their dreams and needs on this that's going on. So go ahead and jump to questions unless any of you want to add to that.
You know us, we could just keep talking about this.
Right.
Somebody wants to get a word and they better say it now.
Make sure I do this right. Okay, so is it possible BIM benefits for these retail design projects and principles?
I think what that's kind of asking is, we talked earlier about the data that we ask our clients to provide us so that we can help better, design this. And I think on BIM being the building information modeling side of it, we capture a lot of information that are we able to return that to the retailer and impact things. I think that's what the question is getting at, is how do we integrate that technology that we create as architects and engineers and designers. And I think yes, you know, I think we use software and tools to basically you know, make our lives a little bit smarter and more efficient. You know, we create libraries and lists and inventory of things that are going to go in these facilities, right? And that's something that is a deliverable product that we can give back to our clients. That's just one example of, I think, how we are integrating BIM and capturing information, but then providing it to the retailer. And you know, a lot of times they want to know what's in their stores, right? So that when they go through that refresh period in 5 to 7 years, they, oh, well, we have that information, right? And then helping them use that, I think, is you know, another important aspect of what we can do.
Excellent. Okay, so next question. How might we use design to create a sense of community and connection that encourages repeat visits? And I know you kind of touched on that.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit. You know, I think it's really a lot about those social gathering spaces, right? People are really looking to be able to go out into these communities and have a good experience. And so, you know, creating these little pockets, or I love to call them vignettes, as Bo was talking about within the store, but it's like these tiny moments that you can create that are customized to people. I think that will always get them coming back.
And to build on that, you can, excuse me, you can recognize your community and partner with like a healthcare company. If you want to have people come into your store for just routine checkups, a lot of stores are putting other services that you would normally think they would put in that store to help draw members of that community in, like tax preparation,
Yeah.
or hairstyling, or healthcare needs.
Yeah.
We talk about how retail's evolved. I think back, you know, personally when I was a kid, I hated shopping, right? When my mom said, hey, we've got to go shopping, it was like, oh, I don't want to go. It's just, you know, going from store to store. It was not a fun experience. You know, as a child, I can only imagine what it was with my parents. But now I think, you know, when I, you know, tell my kids like, hey, we're going to go shopping, they're excited, right? They want to go to these lifestyle centers. They want to go to these entertainment places because it's cool, it's fun. It has an energy that wasn't there before. It's just continually adapting. So, yeah, I'm one of those mall rat generations, right? So,
and we mentioned this not today, but I remember talking about, Nicole, with you, like when you go to entertainment places and you may walk in to grab something to eat, and they go to the restroom and there's a prize thing back there. All the arcades are back there. So the kids, to your point, mine just want to stay and play games on the way back there. So what's normally like a half an hour trip or something, we're going to go have quick lunch before we do it, turns into like 2-3 hours, and you know, a lot of family fun.
right.
I think this is more of a statement, but we can touch on this too, so thank you, Reese. He says, I think that design and analysis, improved store design and layout, reduce of rework, help with better collaboration and communication, streamline the construction process, and maybe even help with more efficient project management would be some of the ways contribution could be added. So I'm going to go to kind of how I wrap that up, and I really think that's getting engaged with our clients in the real estate up front, understanding exactly what's going on here so that we can help them with the design they don't realize they fully need or that they're looking for, to be that community and locality that can really draw people in, keep people there, and keep them coming back.
Yeah.
I'll add, you know, another sticky situation with retail is retail's quick at speed to market, right? So retailers need to be on that leading edge. It's got to be fast, right? And I think as a design professional, one of the challenges of working in retail is it is so quick, it is so fast, right? It has to be, you talk about remodels, like when stores are down, when doors are closed, they're not making money, right? That is never good for a retailer that lives and breathes, is on the edge of, you know, going in the red or the black. So, you know, how as design professionals, you know, certainly our AE collaboration, you know, allows us to facilitate quicker, faster design implementation. And then on the construction side, right, partnering with that right construction team, right, to kind of really create this turnkey design solution where you have design, architectural engineering, civil, right, integrated with the construction side. That's an asset that really retailers are asking more and more for, right? Because it is that quick speed of market. It's how can we do it faster, quicker, because you got to be open soon, right? It can only, for us, it's the pre-holiday season is that, the craziness, right? Because you got to get those doors open by November, right? And there's a moratorium. Well, nope, if it's not done by November, it's not happening this year. So
Collaboration is important on that because change orders, people think money, but that's also time.
Yep.
All right, this one is squarely aimed at you, Nicole. Retailtainment, one of your favorites. So what are the challenges to anticipate in this fusion of retail and entertainment, and how can we address them?
Well, so that's a really good question. So I think a lot of the challenges we see, right, is like you want to create an environment that still invites the shopping experience, right? So the entertainment portion of retail can't overtake it completely, right? Because at the end of the day, you want them to walk out of the store with something. So I kind of see this entertainment portion as an opportunity to get people back. And so it's that entertainment element that gives them that experience to want to come back. And so they work hand in hand. And so that's what I think is the challenge, is making sure it's still about the product at the end of the day, but giving them a good experience while viewing that product or, touching that product or whatever it may be. So.
Excellent. Okay, next one. What sort of data is most beneficial to help designers gain a deeper understanding of the brand's customers' needs and preferences?
I will 100% say a brand book if you have it. If you're not a new concept, you should have a really informative brand book that gives the essence of who you are, what you're looking for, what your future goals are. So those are one of the things that you can share with your architects and engineers that will help them understand the program, what you're looking for, and demographics. We've covered that a lot. Demographics are huge. It gives us an insight of, the age group, like who we're going to be dealing with, who's coming into here, so that we can cater that design to them. So.
Yeah, I'll add to understanding the retailers, their story, right?
Yes.
Understanding who they are, their brand. Nicole, I can think of a retailer that we've worked with, Wawa, right? One of our clients, they're a C-store chain in QSR in the Mid-Atlantic, right? It's a very iconic brand that they have. Wawa is native for goose, right? And you see that goose symbol in their logo. Well, when the design of their new prototype store was coming out, there was this chevron column element, right? This inverted V, which really is echoing kind of the flock formation of the goose, right? And how they fly. And so those little design elements are really cool because it really helps tell that story, right? And all these little features. And I just love that example of, how the name and the image kind of and the design elements kind of evoke and emphasize the story and that importance. So.
Excellent. Okay, from Philip, does brick and mortar need to differentiate itself from online retail by providing hands-on experience and expert staff that exemplified older but cherished retail experiences? Or would smaller formats also slow or reverse some of the parking glut that is paving over once diverse urban fabrics?
You need that experience. I think that's what we've been trying to kind of convey, is that experience is necessary. So I think to cater to the consumer, you want to have the experts in the store, you want to have the bike tune-up desk right there. So those experiences are key, and larger retailers will do that just as well as small format too. So both need to have those experiences going forward.
I'll say too, right? The House of Sports, that's a great example, right? Where they had this, inside the store, they had the House of Cleats, right? Which is this beautifully designed, jewel box of these cleats in display. Nike has a similar thing with the way that they showcase their shoes. That is just, when you go to a physical location, you can touch and feel the product. That's a whole different experience than just swiping on your phone, right? And I think back to, my son, he's 13, he's really into sneakers right now. He sees them online, he sees his favorite players wearing them, and that's great, he's excited about it. But recently we went to a brick and mortar location, right? And just him seeing all those beautifully displayed shoes, and he could pick it up and touch it. I mean, that was like, talk about an experience for him. He's like, Dad, I want to go back. We didn't buy any, right? But he wants to go back because he could touch and see it, and really it's that, for him that was an important experience then, I think. And it just shows, from his view, just that technology side, right? He had really never been in that situation where, okay, now we can kind of physically touch it. So that's just really just one example of how brick and mortar's not going away. That physical aspect is you're still going to need it.
It's more of an immersive experience, right? Like you can't have that online. I mean, yes, you can put headsets on and feel, but you can't smell the space or,
Online gives us that convenience, right? Where
exactly.
I don't want to, I don't have time to go out and pick up some groceries or pick up some apparel, something like that. There's a convenience side of it. And what, we're talking a lot about the consumer experience. So it's just a different way to consume, right?
There's so many choices now. What sneakers do you need? So if you go to a store, you can see each one and compare physically those items itself. Online, you don't get that tangible touch. So which baseball bat, which cleats, you can see those and compare them right there. And if the store goes the extra mile, they'll have a pro there to help you with the bat or with the cleats and try them on and wear them around. You can't try things on online. So going to the store has a perk.
Small indoor goal. My son has to go do that, a little bit wider foot, but kicking that ball around, doing some rainbows or touching it on there you get a good understanding of what you really need and what can walk away with. So. And in my mind as a parent, it's worth the extra money if you're going to go in there and really get that feel and walk away with something that not only you need, but you love.
Right, that feel and that level of service. Yes.
Okay, from Axel. How do we convince retailers that have prototypical stores across the country to adapt more locally sourced and inspired design components in their project? How do we get them to embrace more sustainable practices in the construction of their stores?
That's a great question. So I think what Axel's hitting on is some retailers are large multi-site. So they have a big footprint across the country. And most retailers are aware of this. And so they know that the more stores they build, the more energy they're using, the more resources they're using. So I'm happy to say that large retailers are aware of that. So they are looking for locally sourced materials. And not all retailers are going like LEED certified, right? That's kind of another step. But I know retailers are taking steps to put in solar or to put in the more efficient HVAC systems and more efficient units inside the store for cooling and refrigeration. So they're taking those steps. It's going to take a while, depending on the retailer, due to the size of the stores that they have. But I don't think large retailers are turning a blind eye to this. I think they understand the environmental issues. I think they also understand the brand awareness too. They want to take these steps and they want the consumers to see them too, because that does build brand loyalty like we were talking about. Somebody who feels good with the brand and knows they're taking those steps that are important to them as a consumer, they'll continue to shop. So I think in the future, we'll see more large retailers going that way and then promoting it and advertising it. And that hopefully will build inertia for other retailers and other large buildings to kind of go that way too.
And they do to an extent already, Bo, but it's like a small 4-foot section on the modular. So, but like Head Country barbecue sauce, it's in Oklahoma. You're not going to find that anywhere else, but that is locally, and people go for it. And if it's not at that store, then guess what? They're probably going somewhere else to get that.
Yeah.
Okay, next one from Brad. So this is on retailers with constrained spaces. How do they accommodate, or how would they accommodate in-store activities?
I'll take that one. I think space is at a premium. We all know that from retailers, right? They're from a merchandising standpoint, every square foot matters. From where you place it in the store, everybody's fighting for that premium space. Retailers are getting smarter, right? So they're embracing this idea that, well, maybe some things don't have to be in store, right? It can be an off-site product and it's delivered to your house. I can think of IKEA, for example, right? So they're a big box. I mean, these are 500,000 square foot. They're creating these little design studios, right? These small 9,000, 10,000 square foot locations where it's really just a studio. There's no product in there, but a consumer can come, they can design, they can kind of work with the consultants, and then the product will be delivered to their house, or there's a pickup, right? So retailers they realize that space is at a premium, and again, they're trying to adapt to that. They're trying to adapt to the consumer habits. So I think they're trying to integrate it as best they can, and we're seeing more and more of those kind of large format stores adopting these small format concepts. And Bo, I don't know if you've seen that on your side with your large format clients.
I think that could be the trend, right? Because the more product you can show and display, the more you can sell. But you need a warehouse space. You need space in the back for stock. And so some retailers have adopted like a just-in-time philosophy where they really keep tabs on their inventory. If they know they're getting low, it's all automated with technology that we've talked about. So they'll know to have the next truck bring in those new cleats or baseball bats.
Sure.
But what if the store minimized the backstock area, but they had the products so you could play or demonstrate more products, and if the customers were okay having that sent to be at their house later that day from another distribution center, or maybe the next day, which I think more customers are attuned to because people are used to 1 and 2 day delivery. So you get the benefit of both worlds, if I understand what you're saying. You can go see the product, like, this is what I want, I've experimented with these displays, I want this unit. And the store's like, great, it'll be at your house tomorrow afternoon.
I don't even want to unpack the AI side of things, but retailers are adopting AI. You talk about, you know, that inventory control. That's where retailers are kind of tapping into AI, right? They can kind of monitor what's selling. There's some predictability into the trends and making sure they have it on stock. Using AI to help with customer experience, with chatbots and things like that. Again, it's all enhancing that consumer experience, making it easier. That's a whole different webinar, but
yeah, and that's I've seen this a lot. So my wife wanted to take me shopping over the holidays to go try on some new clothes and everything, but they didn't have the color I wanted, or they didn't have this. But you go and try on all different things to find out what fits, to find out what's right, and then you order that, and you're getting that next day or two. So you can really minimize that inventory inside these smaller boutique stores, but get what you want. Know that it's coming in. You've already tried it, but it still gives you that.
right.
That brick and
But
mortar.
you got what you wanted, right? You didn't have to get a different size because, well, that's all they had. You know, you were able to try it on physically, figure out what you needed, and then, you know, probably either at home by the time you got back from your vacation or wherever you're at. So.
Well, excellent. Well, I appreciate the 3 of you joining me today. It's super exciting. We will have some more constructive conversations here at HFA, so look forward to those. Should you have any questions after that, please feel free to send them to us and we can answer those online. And we'll have a recording that should be out tomorrow for this. Appreciate you all joining us. Have a wonderful day.